A lot of Salvadorans are celebrating the abolishment of presidential term limits, but the question is, what happens to countries and to governments after they abolish term limits? Sadly, my people haven't learned from history, and now history is repeating. So this week, El Salvador passed constitutional reforms to abolish term limits for presidential elections, paving the way for Nayib Bukele to run for indefinite presidential re-election. So to get started, let me remind you of a couple things. He has already violated the Constitution by running for a second term. He's also very popular for his crackdown on crime. But 75,000 people have been picked up and arrested without due process. And many of you have told me that you're okay with that. In the comments about videos that I've posted before critiquing him, explaining that he's the US president's lapdog and a dictator, which he himself has said, you can call me dictator, I'm okay with that. Y'all are loud and proud endorsing him, saying he's great, God bless him. And it's funny to me how people are willing to show their ass publicly on the internet like that, but you do you. You're not worried because you haven't been picked up yet. So putting the fanboying aside, if anyone is still watching this video, let's talk about what happens to countries and governments who eliminate term limits. By the way, this includes the US, who has not eliminated term limits for legislators. So the first problem is that there's a concentration of power. Charismatic leaders who are reelected over and over do a couple of things. They consolidate power and narratives inside of legislature, the judicial system, the military, even the media. We saw this with Ortega in Nicaragua. We saw it with Chavez and Maduro in Venezuela. And we've seen this with Putin in Russia. The next thing that happens is that democracy weakens. So even though elections are still taking place, the same leaders tend to be reelected over and over. There is no change in the guard. This means that courts tend to stay loyal and are transformed by the reelection of the same candidates, and there's no checks on them. It also means that the media is censored because the person who's reelected holds power and is able to censor them. So the next thing that happens is a little strange when you juxtapose it, because there is stability, but also stagnation. So supporters of people like Bukele say, this is bringing stability to our country. But what you really get with that so-called stability is a lack of innovation. The longer an elected official is in office, the more susceptible they are to corruption going unquestioned. And the more the leadership becomes separate from the reality of the people they represent. Now, the next thing that happens is protests and uprisings go on the uptick. When economic conditions worsen, or when the repression starts to feel personal, like it's selective, people rise up. We're talking constitutional crisis, mass protests, and sometimes even civil war or violence. Now, there are also international consequences. What ends up happening in nations that eliminate term limits